survive, breathing is essential. But what's equally important is what you and I are breathing. And you'll be shocked to know that across the globe, 9 out of 10 people are breathing unclear air. And ultimately, around 7 million people die every year from diseases and infections related to air pollution. Namaskar, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I'm Tina Jha. You're watching Perspective. On National Pollution Control Day today, as India remembers those who lost their lives during the 1984 Bhopal gas tragedy, we thought it apt to discuss the hazards of air pollution, which is today the leading environmental risk to health. Around the world, more than 90% of people breathe in air that the World Health Organization considers potentially harmful. In India, 3 cities, Delhi, Kolkata and Mumbai, rank among the top 10 cities with the worst air quality indices. This, according to Air Quality and Pollution City Tracking Service from IQ Air, a Switzerland-based climate group that is also a technology partner of the United Nations Environmental Programme. The situation is particularly grim in the national capital, where mounting levels of air pollution have triggered concerns of a health emergency. As an immediate measure, the Delhi government has announced closure of all schools in the city till further orders. The Supreme Court has directed the centre and Delhi government to come out with suggestions to control the pollution within 24 hours. A special bench headed by Chief Justice N.V. Ramana also said it expected serious action on the ground to bring down pollution levels. However, the question is, what measures are required to bring down pollution levels? What are countries worldwide doing to address the problem of air pollution? What kind of a strategy or action plan has India adopted to address this health challenge? To find answers to some of these pertinent questions and also related aspects of air pollution, I'm joined on the program today by a distinguished panel of experts. I'm pleased to welcome on the show today Dr. Vibha Dhawan, Director General, TERI, Mr. C.K. Mishra, former Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India, and Mr. Atul Bagai, Head of Country India Office, United Nations Environment Programme. Thank you to all my panelists for joining me on the program today on Sansad TV. Mr. Mishra, allow me to begin the program today with you. First, your perspective on the current situation that we are witnessing in Delhi NCR. The air pollution levels are once again on the rise, and concerned over which the Supreme Court of India has now given a 24-hour ultimatum to both the central as well as Delhi governments to come up with proper solutions. Now, the question is, this problem that residents of Delhi face year on year, are there any immediate measures that can bring down air pollution levels?
Thank you for that question. But the issue is that this is not the first time that we are having a difficult winter.
Yes.
There was a brief lull when we had the pandemic and people were indoors and there were no vehicles on the road, etc. But you know, there are no immediate answers. And it is not as if we don't know the answers. According to me, the problem is that year after year, we start on these answers close to the appointed date and leave an unfinished agenda for the next year. So unless there is action on the ground, what else do you want? You have a city-wise national pollution control action plan. The NCAP is there to guide everyone. You have a city-wise data available now. You know what are the determinants, what are the factors which are causing this pollution. The issue is how coherent is our action on the ground. And I would ask another question. That the issue is, what investments have we made to make the air clean? Unless we address these two issues, I don't think we have a solution immediately.
Absolutely.
It is not, of course, entirely a man-made thing. There are natural causes to it as well. But there is a certain possibility of reduction in the level of pollution if we are able to take action. Simple things. Burning of garbage in the backyards of industrial area, allowing vehicles which are emitting very badly with wrongly given PUCs to run on the road. I mean, these are things we can easily handle. But I think it's not the plan. It's not the process, it's the action that we need to get into.
Okay, Dr. Dhawan, so we know the causes that are aggravating this problem year after year. Why is there no action on behalf of anybody, be it the central government, the state government, or even the public at large?
Well, as Dr. Mishra had said, that we know that it is year after year. It's not first year that we are facing pollution problem. It's every year.
Yes.
And it is like, I'll say, as early as Diwali, where was the need to permit crackers? And that's the day the pollution started in Delhi. And it became like a smoke box, because there is pollution and it started from there. We are unable to get rid of even that air. Now, as rightly mentioned, where are the investments? We see pollution in isolation of health impact, whether it is burning of parali, because it's a yearly event that, or I'll say that at least we are able to put the blame on parali burning, which can account up to 30% of the total air pollution for a few days at least. Now, over there, are we making adequate investments in terms of understanding what the farmer requires? Why is he burning agriculture residue? Is it because of the varieties of rice? Is it because of our planning? Again, looking water independent of the season when paddy is harvested. Because if the paddy plantation is late, there is hardly any time left between harvesting of paddy versus planting of wheat. And therefore, to prepare their field, they burn it. Similarly, when we collect the waste, there are no plans, because waste, it goes such long distances to land fills and so on. So a lot of truck movement is there. Similarly, when we look at construction activities going on, we perhaps need to plan what is going to happen in the month of November, because it's a yearly event, November, December. So over there as well, we need to take precautions that there is not too much of digging, which is continuing. You go to any road in Delhi, there will be some digging activity still going on. So when I say it is the responsibility of every stakeholder, including, I should say, each one of us, whether we are simply running our cars, whether it's really required. But then somewhere you also need, do we have adequate public transport? And especially in this time of COVID, everyone wants to play safe, so they avoid using public transport, and there are more vehicles on the road. So should we make unleaded petrol mandatory, especially during these couple of months, so that the air remains breathable? So there are issues which are to be tackled at every level.
Absolutely. Mr. Bhagai, although we are talking about Delhi at the moment because we are in a precarious situation, and we are talking about how year after year the residents of Delhi feel as if they are caught up in a smoke house, there's smog everywhere, and there is very little action on the ground on part of everyone. But air pollution is not just a problem that Delhi is fighting. It's a global phenomenon, and as I mentioned in my introduction as well, air pollution is causing havoc worldwide. If the World Health Organization data is to be believed, it says over 90% of the global population today is breathing air that exceeds the WHO guideline limits. So clearly, it is a global challenge, but what is the kind of global response to this challenge, which is now having adverse effects, particularly on the low and middle income countries?
I wanted to also lend my voice to what C.K. Mishra ji and Vibha ji said.
Sure, please go ahead.
And when you said 90%, actually is 92%. And that means at a global level, every out of 10 people are facing this problem. And this problem certainly is very, very acute in the developing world. I think there are 2 or 3 challenges which the world is facing, and it needs to be a global kind of effort. Also, because air pollution is not restricted by any boundaries. It's a transboundary issue also. And when we are talking of, let's say, Delhi, as was brought out by Vibhajit CK Mishra, the events happening in neighboring states which are having an impact on Delhi. So I think the approach we need to take is more of an airshed approach rather than a city approach. And I think that's a very important step that would be needed. And if we're talking of North India, we need to see how we are collaborating with some of our neighboring countries, because what is happening in the neighboring countries is impacting on North India. So at a global level, I think this recognition is there that it needs to be an effort that is not just a country effort or a city effort, but also talk to and coordinate with the neighboring countries and also within cities, with the neighboring cities or the neighboring areas. I agree with what C.K. Mishra said, and it's not only Delhi, but if we see most of the developing countries, our reactions start around, if we're taking Delhi, for example, our reactions start around 8th to 10th November. And by first week of January or second week of January, we are on to something else. And then for the whole year, there's hardly a talk of air pollution issues. And I think that's where media really needs to be pegging at this issue on a constant basis, not only to raise awareness, but also keep the focus on this. And I can say it's not that the government or the civil society is not doing anything. I was just going through some papers preparing for this session, and I was listing down what the government of India and state governments in India have done. And I can tell you there are almost about 70 or 80 schemes of various departments which are going on unnoticed, which are going to feed into mitigating air pollution. And CKG talked about the National Clean Air Action Plan. India is one of the rare developing countries that has an action plan like this looking over the next 20 years. But I think we will have to live with this kind of a situation for the next few years. It's not going to go away tomorrow morning by all the knee-jerk reactions that can happen. It is a long, sustained kind of an effort that's needed over the next 1 decade, to say the least, and it needs heavy investment. Beijing invested $2 to $3 trillion over a period of 5 to 6 years or 7 years to reduce its air pollution level. So are we going to make that kind of investment is a moot question.
Okay. Mr. Mishra, Mr. Bagai mentioned how India is one of the very few countries which has a national clean air program, and a lot of efforts have been put to that regard as well. The biggest being that we want to achieve the target of reducing by 20 to 30% PM10 and PM2.5 concentrations in just about 3 years from now, 2024. So on that front, what is the kind of progress? Will we be able to meet the targets that we have set for ourselves?
When the National Clean Air Program was being conceived, these issues were broadly discussed with all stakeholders, which includes the states, the scientists, the civil society, and everyone. And it was found that this will be a reasonable target to look at. It is a difficult one, but I don't think as a country we have an option. We have to push. And, as long as we keep denying through a long period of time that we have a problem which is very severe, we will not be able to find a solution to it. So we had the National Clean Air Program. Some funding was also done under the program. The issue is, will these sporadic efforts add up to a sum where we can have clean air? My answer would be, perhaps it will take much longer than what we desire if we continue the same way. Therefore, we'll have to speed up activities. Activities like we did when we took a decision from going from BS4 to BS6 straight away. We jumped to BS5. It is those strategic decisions which will have to come in. And one of the problems is that whenever we talk about emissions, we have an issue particularly with the power sector, with the transport sector. And both are sectors where it is not possible to do very much. I know it's a very difficult thing, but pushing deadlines further away in improving air quality in power sector is perhaps not the best way to move ahead. We need to meet those deadlines. It is a tough one. And I mean, if it was not such a big challenge, what was the need of doing all this? It is a challenge, therefore we have to meet it. So I think it's time where A, we had modulated proper programs on the ground. B, these programs are properly monitored. And C, we must ensure that they are properly funded. Unless we take care of this, I don't think we'll find an immediate solution. Having said that, let me also tell you that if you look at the last 6 years, 7 years history, a lot of work has gone in. It's not that government has been sitting idle. That magic band has not yet been found. How we do that is a challenge for both government. And why just government? Is it government's responsibility alone? I don't think so. Every person who's contributing to the emission today needs to be responsible. So to get back to your question, getting to the levels of reduction in emission is a tough one, but India has no choice.
Absolutely. No choice, because Delhi, the national capital of India, is the most polluted city as on date. 3 of India's cities, metropolitan cities, rank among the top 10 most polluted cities. What are the lessons, Dr. Dhawan, that we can pick on from the other countries globally who were in similar situations but have now been able to reduce pollution levels and sort of given better air quality to their residents?
There are a lot of lessons one can learn from the other countries. And what has also been done and rightly mentioned, that one is not sitting idle and one is also doing a sort of modeling and understanding what are the sources of pollution in this particular weather. So over there, it is that one has also found more or less a solution for fast degradation of agriculture residue. So the technology which came from IARI, and farmers are adopting it. In many countries, there is a tax. You can't drive your car alone. We all understand that carpool is best, but not many of us exercise that. So if we have to pay, say, tax if you're driving alone, people will go for carpool. And that definitely there will be reduction in the vehicular traffic on the roads. We also have to see what is the best method of transporting vegetables. Is it trucks or rail is a better option? We spoke of CNG, which is a cleaner fuel. But then do we have adequate availability? Because a truck driver won't like to stand in queues for 6 hours to get his truck filled. So these are the things where we have to ensure that these are the sources of emissions. So how do we reduce those particular emissions in a particular weather? Construction activities. Stop it for 2 months. What is there? Because there are months when that is not a problem. And if you're continuing, you have to ensure that you are sprinkling water. You have to collect dust all the time, because that's how the levels will come down. And as said very loud and clear, that it's responsibility of every stakeholder. So it also becomes very important to educate the stakeholders. For example, if farmers, because we have villages where parali is burnt and there are villages where they take care of agriculture residue in a different way. So if they are told that it is directly impacting your own families, perhaps they'll go for better options which are available in the market today.
Absolutely.
So,
Dr. Bagai, so even though countries are managing to find localized solutions to this whole problem of air pollution, what role does the UNEP play in supporting, especially those countries where there is lack of funding or infrastructure, or for that matter, even technological know-how?
Thanks for highlighting that issue. And certainly, as it's come out that financing is one of the big issues that need to be done, plus the commitment to do that action on the ground. And UNEP, which has a normative role as per the UN mandate, our job is to bring the science on the table and also work with the governments and the stakeholders on policy issues. the hardcore on the ground hardware work that needs to be done from multilateral perspective is something that's done by the other UN agencies, the World Bank and the ADB, in terms of bringing that solutions on the ground. So from our perspective, I think our effort has been to bring the science on the table. We are working in India right now with Central Pollution Control Board and the Ministry of Environment. And for the very first time, by next year, we'll be bringing an indigenous kind of a report on air quality and air pollution. Till now, a lot of reports that have come out on India, which have also created a lot of rancor amongst the various stakeholders, have been originating in outside India, in universities outside India, or by scientists outside India. And I'm not saying that they are not bringing in the correct picture. They're also relying a lot on the India data. But I think a lot of manpower, the scientific manpower that is available within India needs to come together to look at this and also come up with what local solutions could be there. And that's an effort we have started on a pilot basis with Central Pollution Control Board. And we are hopeful that once the first report is out, middle of next year, we could carry on this forward. The second effort where UNEP is getting involved, of course, is that we are working in Agra as a pilot city, like a lot of other institutions are in various other cities. And we're trying to develop an airshed approach, which I mentioned in my earlier intervention, for Agra air pollution. And as C.K. Mishra ji mentioned, that we all know the causes of pollution. It may be city specific, they may be differing a little bit, but broadly, the causes are all known and also the solutions are all known. But in Agra, we're trying to see how we can look at an airshed model, which will also give us solutions which may be needed in areas around Agra. And another big aspect we are looking at, along with Center for Science and Environment and also the Norwegian government, is how waste management is impacting on air pollution in Agra. And that's an area which needs to be recognized throughout, and CK mentioned that, of garbage burning. And I think that is an area that needs to be looked on. And finally, I think the third thing which we've brought in to support the Ministry of Environment is an air quality platform. In fact, if you're looking at what is happening, so there is a lot of funding coming in from the government, through the Finance Commission also. But there's a lot of funding also coming through bilateral government aids with the Ministry of Environment and with the Government of India. Also from multilateral agencies like the World Bank, the ADB, UNDP, UNIDO, and various other organizations. So how does one synergize what is happening? In many places, we saw that two organizations were working in the same city on the same issue.
Yes.
And the left hand wasn't knowing what the right was doing. And I think we need to synergize these efforts to make the maximum bang for the buck that is available on the table. And those are limited bucks that we have right now. So we're trying to bring a platform which could bring and synergize all these efforts together and support the Ministry of Environment and Forest.
Okay. Mr. Mishra, one final remark from you. Obviously, there are multiple challenges to this huge crisis that we are in. But obviously, as you said, we have no choice. So the road ahead in terms of synergizing that Mr. Bagai mentioned and coordination from all stakeholders to address this challenge.
Yes, there is no option but to coordinate at a central level, and there is a need to make municipal bodies responsible for what they are supposed to do, both in terms of garbage collection, in terms of dust prevention. If you look at the causes, there are three elements you need to control. Vehicular pollution, the solution lies in public transport. And the solution lies in credible, good public transport which can force people out of cars, which we still don't have fully. Second is dust. I don't know if we can always, as a reaction to the pollution, just shut construction activities. It hurts a lot of people. But why can't we enforce the dust rules that have been notified in 2018-19? There are clear instructions on how construction should go. The point I'm trying to make is, you need to be tough. There will be some swollen faces, but I think Government needs to be tough. Those who do not follow the norms need to be punished. And we need to push this agenda very strongly. And particularly the local self-government and the states need to identify just one or two things which is causing the main problem and pursue it rather than work on several platforms and not be successful on any. I think it's a focused approach at the end of the day.
Absolutely. So not knee-jerk reactions, but focused approach that will help us find solution to this huge problem, not just specific to India, but globally as well. We've discussed how air pollution is causing immense damage to human lives, also a huge impact economically as well. It is having a significant economic impact on countries' GDP. So overall, solutions to this challenge have to be found India-specific and also globally, as Mr. Bagai was pointing out. Thank you to all my panelists for joining me on the program today and sharing your thoughts with us and our viewers. It was a pleasure having you on the show with us today. So that's it from us on this edition of Perspective today. Thank you very much to our viewers for their time.